Hello, welcome back to the Reading Mama. My name is Heather, and today I thought I would give you another update of what my big family is currently reading. So if you are new here, I have 8 kids and we are all very much bookworms, some more than others. And I've been sharing all summer kind of where my kids are and what they're currently reading and what I'm currently reading to give you an insight of what we read at different ages and how that's going. Now, at the end, I will share what I'm currently reading, which changes by the day to day because I often finish a book in a day. So keep that in mind. But first, I'm going to start with my kids. Now, we have some read-alouds, and I'm not doing so great. We're in the midst of school. We started school this week, and I do great with my school reads. But the bedtime read-alouds, this mama is just tired by bedtime, and it often goes by the wayside. But we're working on it, just slowly. So let me share, without further ado, what my kids are reading right now. So how old is she? 12, almost 13-year-old, is reading this to my 6-year-old, A Rescue Princess's The Rainbow Opal by Paula Harrison. This is not like phenomenal writing, but my kids love these books. They're great early chapter books for those kids who you just want to be, who are new to reading, they're excited to read, and they're getting the good literature in school. So I'm okay with them reading a whole bunch of this that isn't the greatest quality literature, but it has a decent story. It's good, it's fun, it's cute, and it encourages them to read and to just continue to keep reading. So we have several of the books in this series. Basically, the princesses are rescuing the animals. That's like really what it is. There are a few conservational overtones in it, not enough to bother me. They annoy my husband. Neither he nor I will read these aloud to the kids. You either read it independently or you get a sibling to read it, because it is, like I said, not quality writing, but it is good enough for kids, and it has no swears, nothing. I don't even think there's bathroom humor in them. Clean, fun, silliness. So my 6-year-old reading that. My 8-year-old is on an Imagination Station kick, so she has been going through this. If you do not know Imagination Station, think of it as Magic Tree House, but Christian. And so there is a Adventures in Odyssey where they had an imagination station where they could jump in and go back in time. And that was a audio drama for many years. Well, they've made a book series about it, and you have 2 kids, I believe it's 2 kids, I think it's Patrick and Beth, in every single book. And they go through these different adventures in the imagination station. And some of them they're all Christian, but some of them are more biblical stories, and some of them are just historical stories. Because I think the last one she read was about Pompeii, and this one is Danger on a Silent Night. So this is a Christmas story. But like I said, they run the gamut. And so she's going through all of those right now. She's pretty much reading about a book every 2 days. Now that we've started school, when it was summer, she was going through a book at a day. My 12 and 14-year-old went to the library and got all the Melanie Dickerson books I would allow them to check out, because I have 8 kids. They can only check out so many books. So my 12-year-old is starting the Hogenheim series and is reading The Healer's Apprentice. She's absolutely loving it. She's a bit of a slower reader, but she's really, really loving everything about this series. My 14-year-old is obsessed and I don't even know what number this is. This is the Golden Braid. So Healer's Apprentice, I forget what this one is it's the start of it. I don't really remember what fairy tale, because they're like fairy tale retellings set in Germany, with no magic or anything like that. They're Christian, they're clean, no spice or anything like that. But I don't remember the Healer's Apprentice, what story this is supposed to be. I want to say, is it Little Red Riding Hood? I don't know. I can't remember. Oh, that's terrible. And I just read this year, so I should not. And then the Golden Braid is obviously a Rapunzel retelling, and this is also part of the Hogenheim series. This child has gone through so more than I can. I can't keep up with her, but I trust the author, so I'm okay with that. And then I don't know how old she is. She's 10. She's almost 11. She'll be 11 in like 2 weeks. She is reading the second book in the Restorationist series by Karen, and she's told me how to say her name, and I can't remember. But these books are so phenomenal. They're very much, if you've read the Pages & Co., it's like the artist version of it, because they can jump into the paintings and travel through these like hallways between the paintings. It's like being in the artist's mind-ish. Anyways, and you have good guys and bad guys. You have the restorationists and the distortionists, and the restorationists go and restore the paintings the distortionists are jumping into the paintings and adding subtle changes to them that you wouldn't notice as a viewer on the outside looking at the painting, but it changes how you emote, how you feel about it, and it's making it negative and dark and creepy and bad and all these things. And the restorationist's job is to go back and to heal that. Well, in book 1, you follow Vincent's story, and he's just discovering that his family is part of this world and learns that they're one of the last families alive that can do this. And so you get that, and there's a whole side mystery going on with their family, like just bonkers crazy. This one follows his cousin Georgia, who is in the first book, and it follows her and the artist in the first book is Vincent Van Gogh. This one's all about Georgia O'Keeffe, and I don't remember the third one who it follows, but it follows a young boy named Ravi. And they're going through and helping solve these mysteries, trying to stop the distortionists, but also to reclaim some of the powers and not power, but the artistic abilities and things that they had as when their families were the restorationists were at their height, and dealing with all the ramifications of all that. And I did read this one. I really like it. I love like when they're traveling in the hallways, the pages turn gray. And there's some really sweet like artwork throughout. And the story is just phenomenal. It's a great read aloud. I read the first book aloud to my kids. They absolutely loved it, never wanted me to stop. And then I've read this one, and half of my kids have read the third book, and I haven't, but my 10-year-old is reading that now. So now on to what I'm reading. Currently, don't judge me, but it is August 5th, and I've already finished 5 audiobooks. 2 of them were novellas. But yeah, so my current audiobook is Fragile Designs by Colleen Coble, and I know this isn't an audiobook. I checked out a lot, I don't think you can see them, a lot of library books, and they're kind of like my reminder, hey, read this book, and if I can get it on audio, I'm going to do it on audio, because I can do that while I work out. Like the last 2 days I've been listening to this when I work out, when I drive places. I don't think I listened to it when I was cooking, but you get the picture, while I'm doing other things, and I can't always do a physical copy. This is a standalone mystery by Colleen Coble, which she has, a lot of series. In this one, so far, what is happening, because I didn't read the back or the blurb or anything. You have a young woman, and it starts out, and her husband is murdered right at the beginning. Like a lot of Colleen's books begin with a murder, okay? And then it jumps to 9 months in the future. And she's living with her grandmother, and she's finally unpacking some of the things that were her great-grandmother's that she was going to sell at auction or flea market kind of thing to help get money for her family. And she discovers something of worth. It puts a whole new spin on a lot of things that happened with her husband and all the things that are going on, and you have all kinds of connections. So she's now living with her grandmother, who's across the street from her murdered husband's best friend, who has bad opinions about her, but obviously that's going to be a romance because there's always a romance in Colleen Coble's, which is part of the fun because she does it in a light, in a Christian way without overhanded Christian. I love how she shares like the testimony, and there's usually somebody who's not saved who needs to be saved, or it's 2 Christian couples kind of understanding what it means to be a Christian in light of the circumstances they're in. So that's going to come, but all I know right now is that she's discovered this thing that is of great worth, and she asked her neighbor, who doesn't like her very much because of things in their past, and he is a cop, and he's going to help her not only uncover what happened with her husband's murder, which hasn't been fully investigated, but also help her find a way to deal with this bizarre thing that she uncovered. So very interesting so far. High action, fast paced, very enjoyable. Then for my physical books that I'm currently reading, I am working on Dawn of Doves by Abigail Breyer, which I really liked the series. Can you see it? It's up here. So these 2. This is book 3, technically book 2, because you have book 1, 1.5, and 2. Book 1 follows Ravenna. There's a couple other characters you follow, who has been growing up in a secluded tribal area where she desperately wants to be a shield maiden. But dude, you gotta read the book because a lot happens, and it gets like really insane in the last 100 pages, as a fantasy novel does. And so I can't tell you too much about what's going on in here other than Ravenna is struggling, okay? Book 1.5 follows Cove, who is a side character at the very end of book 1. But it tells you about the politics of another area in the kingdom, as well as about Cove, and that's all going to come to play, I'm sure, later on in this. I'm not very far. It's a big book. It's hard for me to pick up, and it keeps jumping around with so many characters that it gets a little frustrating because I'm like, just stick with one storyline, especially because it follows the villains. And I don't like that. I don't want to know what the villains are doing. But it is interesting, and I like the style of writing. I like the world that she's created, where you have the Embers, who are the people who have received the Father of Light and then have certain abilities because of that trust in the Father of Light. And then there are the Spiri, who have killed Embers and taken that ability and twisted it into an evil magical ability. And so they're obviously at war in the kingdom, and there's a couple different political venues going on here and a fight for power. A couple of side notes: there are witches. It is an allegorical story, so light is going to win in the end. Okay, light is going to win in the end. I know that. But if you are heavy magic, don't like witches or mention of witches, it may not be the book for you. Okay, it is epic fantasy, epic. Okay, she is planning on 8 books total, so keep that in mind. It is not a finished series. I believe she's working on book 2.5 and 3 right now, and so keep that in mind. It's multiple points of view. I cannot even count them all at this point. If you don't like that, that won't be your thing. However, all of that you might not like, I really do like the story. I love the allegorical part of it without it being heavy-handed. I like the fantasy world that she's created and the magical abilities. The magic system is very interesting, coming from the Father of Light, and the various abilities that they have. I like a lot of the characters. I hated Ravenna for most of book 1. She won me over. It's dark, it's hard, it's heavy. There's a lot of things in there. I like a book that devastates you, and book 1 was devastating. Book 2 was devastating. This is it's devastating. In the very first 3 chapters, I was bawling, in a good way, because I know it's all building on the character arcs to go somewhere and stuff. Anyways, that's what I'm reading. I'm hoping to finish this month. We'll see. I am finally picking back up the Secret World of Weather. So I was reading another nonfiction book, and I was trying to focus on it. More about that in another video. Anyways, so finally I'm picking up some other things. The Secret World of Weather by Tristan Gooley, I absolutely love. So it is a thicker book, and it has taken me too long to read it, really. But I pick it up and read it in short snippets because you can. There's each chapter has little subheadings that are very short, and you would think it's very boring. You know, how am I reading signs in every cloud, breeze, hill, tree, street, plant, animal, and dewdrop, right? He writes in such a way that it's like reading a story. It's telling you about weather in practical forms. And part of me wants to oh no, I need to write down all this notes so I can remember all these things. And then I was like, no, I'm not doing a weather class. I'm not learning to be a meteorologist. I just am reading it for fun. So stop worrying about trying to remember everything and just enjoy the story and try to take note where I can. And it's been really interesting. I really loved today. I sat down for 15 minutes and read a little bit about dew, and he dropped some really funny things. He had something about, let me just see if I can find it. He had the story of Gideon and the fleece, which was interesting to add in there. And it wasn't a mention on Christian or God or anything like that. He was just saying, okay, well, here's how it actually works in the real world and why it would be like this. Not going to make any points on your faith. He's just saying this is why. And then he just had some funny comments talking about it. And let's see here. So he was telling dew is something you can use to figure things out. And he's like, it's like a sherry-filled ant at Christmas. Dew remembers everything, but is vague with the detail. It's just, he has some really funny one-liners and comparisons throughout, and it keeps you interested. And then he's talking about all these moisture and dew and how it works, and how if you in the sun areas there's the dew, but then under a tree it's less because the ground is warmer, and all these things, which is really fascinating to me. I really do like science, so that's part of it. But then he goes in to tell a story about a murder that was solved because of dew on the roof and dew on the murderer's car, and that it was solved. And he said that there was a true crime documentary of this called Dew Process, DEW, which, I mean, that's just a funny tidbit, but it makes it interesting. And so I have my high schoolers reading his books. My oldest is reading they'll start reading Nature Science, and my freshman is going to be reading this one this year as well, which is why I'm trying to get through it. But there is just really well written. There are some graphs throughout and charts to help you understand some of the things. And it's just written at a very common level that makes it very accessible to everyone, I think, and interesting to read. And then last but not least, I am currently reading Ruin by Victoria McCombs, and I don't know what I think about it. I mean, I love it. but it's gotten my brain twisting. So I've read a lot of her fantasy books, and this is a historical fantasy is what I'm going to call it. Because you have Rune, who is growing up in a Viking village, and she's the second daughter of 6 daughters, and she has a breathing problem. She's a little bit weaker than everybody else. Everybody looks over her. Nobody notices her. All these things are going on, and then something happens at the very beginning that I don't want to give away, and it's pretty heartbreaking. You feel really bad for her, but at the same time, she has a very much Astrid from How to Train Your Dragons vibe, where I'm just gonna fight it out and deal with it, and I'm not gonna have any emotions. And she's dealing with all of that, and the main thing is being that she is seeking to be loved and seeking to belong, because she's never felt that. She always feels like somebody else, her sister specifically, is chosen, and she tries to combat with that, and the idea of not belonging and not being loved is repeated throughout. Well, she ends up being taken by the Norse gods to their kingdom, and because they think she is the lost goddess of some family. And I don't know how it's going to work out. I don't know if she's actually going to be the goddess. Is it that she really is immortal and she's tricked them because that's what she thinks? But at the same time, she's like, well, some of these, maybe I am a goddess that was kidnapped when I was a kid, and I don't know. And it's just going back and forth a lot. While that's happening, she meets her fiance up there, because they were betrothed at conception, basically. Because their moms are best friends, and he wants to leave Asgard. And so they make a plan to hold up this fake fiance ship for 2 months, and then hopefully they can both escape, because she's afraid she's gonna be found out by the Norse gods that she's a human, and they're gonna kill her for it. So she's like, I gotta get out of here. But that's what it keeps coming back to, and it's leading up to something called like the Champion Games or something, I don't know, is coming up next. And that's where they every 10 years bring 20 mortals to Asgard to fight, and only one survives. And that's what's coming up. I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know what's going on. I do think it's interesting compared to her other books. She has this written in like acts. So like, so you have like act 1. And so you have you have 5 acts, and it's written that way. And each act has a little phrase. So act 1 says, mortal hearts are fragile things. I love the artwork in this. It's really pretty. I'm very interested to find out what is going to happen with Rune and how this is all going to work out. I don't know. But I'm enjoying Victoria McComb's writing. So that is what our big family is reading. And that video went a lot longer than I meant to. I'm so sorry. Have a blessed day. Let me know what you're reading in the comments, and I'll see you again next time.